how can we find the solution to that? Because
Mm.
despair
Mm.
is everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, wow, that's kind of a sad truth. Despair is everywhere and it rhymes, so it's catchy.
Oh yeah,
But
when it
it's
rhymes, it's
yeah.
always catchy. Like, it's like a slogan, right? It's like my American friends, I don't want to do this to you guys because I know you guys don't like the guys. Like, make America great again.
Oh, yeah.
It's like make relationships great again at this point, right? Because you go online and that's like probably the first thing we access. And it just seems that men and women can't get along. And we've been getting along for centuries, right? But it's just like the last 10, 15 years with the rise of I want to say the red pill men and the rise of the transitioning from the fourth generation feminists, there seems to be like this conflict, right? And there's this joke that I made online and some other people making online too. They're two different sides of the same coin because a lot of the complaints that they have against each other are what they're doing. So, for example, you'll have, because many of my friends are like this, right? So you have men that say that I don't want to date any female over 30. So they're going to go 25. In Canada, legal age is 18. So let me preface that for those in America. So they're going to go from 18 to 25 because that's what they want because they say that they have less baggage, there's less mileage, take that how you want it, and there's less what's the word I'm looking for? There's less of a need to maybe deal with some of the heartbreak that they've gone through before because in general, the older you are, the more relationships you had, right? In general. And then on the flip side, you have women saying about men that men aren't ready. They don't necessarily want to date someone that's older, even though they may be more mature, is because they want someone who's 25. He has to be making $100,000, have his own house, his own car, and so on and so forth. And most men that age just don't have that. That's just the reality, right? So they're complaining about each other, not knowing that they're both underprepared or not prepared at all to be in the type of relationship that they want. But instead of realizing it, they just continue to live in their own echo chamber and just harbor, and it grows. So you have some people that are serial daters because everyone's dating online and it's swipe, 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 right? Right. But they're dealing with crap after crap after crap after crap. And then you sprinkle in a good man in there or a good woman in there. And because they've they've jaded themselves in a way, they mistreat that person and they demand more from that nice person versus Tyrone down the street, for lack of a better word, right? So when I say grief, when I say despair is everywhere, it just seems that there's some people who want a relationship so bad, but they want it in a way that they have to do the least amount of work possible. Right? So when you're dealing with your clients now, how do you get them motivated,
Mm.
inspired to maybe do the type of work that a lot of people apparently don't want to do because they're going to have to be in the mud, in the trenches to make it work.
Yeah. I mean, we get out what we put in, right? So if we're not willing to do the healing that's required to come to a relationship whole, then, again, we have to say that's on us. Like, that's my bad. I need to show up and do this. Um, I had a thought as you were talking that I'm gonna just let come back to me. It's gone away, but I'm gonna let it little Bo Peep its way back into my brain. What I do with people is this very systematic approach where the first thing that we do is we make sure that all of the old negative unresolved emotions, we call them the big five, are neurologically different. So we swipe out anger, sadness, fear, hurt, and guilt. We remove them from the person's neurology, not so that they can't ever experience them, but so that they experience them only in a way that's appropriate and warranted. The next thing that we do is we discharge any old residual traumatic events so that those old painful experiences of the past, whether they're, family of origin traumatic experiences or old relationship traumatic experiences, they're neutralized so that there's not that old automatic trigger pattern. And there's that and that tendency to engage in the same relationship with a different face and maybe a different body, it disappears because they're no longer still latched on to the pain of the past. So that's the first thing that we do, and this takes about 6 to 8 hours. Oh, that's maybe a bit of an exaggeration. Let's say 6, 7 hours of time together, which really isn't that much in the grand scheme of things in the decades of our lives. Like, that's not a lot. And the work that I do is content free, which means that people who come to me as a client, I often don't know what it is they're clearing. I often don't know the details of the events that we're shifting, and I don't have to as the practitioner. Their unconscious mind knows the thing that we're healing and working on. So that neural pathway of telling that old story is unnecessary. We don't need to keep paving it. We can just change it. But then the next thing that we do, which I think is circling back to your point, is that we reconnect to positive emotional states throughout their entire past, where we go back and we implant, let's say, love, trust, connection, peace, ease, joy into their history in their unconscious mind, because our memories are very changeable. They're very malleable. We cannot trust what our memories are telling us, but we can go back and introduce these flavors of things that we want to experience. So now as we're swiping, right, we are, or left, I don't know which it is. We are sorry, that's a generation below me. I don't know. Not to say that if I needed to look for love that way, I might do it that way. I don't know. I'm not in that scenario. But as we're swiping, now we're coming to this with this wholeness instead of this emptiness or this thing that we're hoping someone else will fill. And that's actually going to attract something better. The other thing is like, and this is the little Bo Peep moment. She's come back to me with her little bell on and wagging her little tail, ding-a-ling-a-ling. Uh, if we can, and you kind of said it in a different way, and I'm going to spin on this. If we can be okay with who we are, where we are right now, whether we're single or not, but let's just say we're single, if we can be 100% okay with that, then it's more likely that we're going to attract a mate that we can stay with longer term.